So hello guys, Sendou again. Today what we're gonna be talking about is literally throwing torpedo. So yeah, this is my iconic catchphrase. I really like throwing torpedoes every time. I like it so much, I even call myself Torpedo these days. But how does one throw torpedo? As you can see, I have quite a few matches of throwing torpedoes with this weapon. But how does one throw a torpedo? Yeah, this is pretty much how you do it, but is there something else you should be considering when you are in the act of throwing torpedoes, right? So we do have two options for throwing torpedoes. You saw this is the first one, and I guess a good thing to note here is that it actually puts down a respectable amount of paint. Uh, it really is nothing, to. It's pretty much the same as sprinkler, like more or less. So that, in my mind, has always been a very insane aspect of the sub weapon itself. So of course the utility of it is not gonna be the same, since if you are gonna be rolling your torpedo, then well, obviously that's really not comparable to actually getting to throw in their torpedo in the air. But if you do throw it in the air, that's actually insane on how much it paints, and really does make a difference. So when should you be using the rolling? Because it's still an option, and it's not something you should forget. And when you should be actually throwing them? Well, I think generally you want to be throwing them, and the big reason is that it indeed does paint quite a bit, and that's really much the whole sub weapon. Like rolling is, like some people were saying, for example, that rolling might be really good on. And this is really like the nice part of having many weapons. But rolling is really good for, say, Genza Rapid. Like, oh my god, this is like a cream now. Or whatever. I don't even know how this works. I guess if you roll it and you direct them, that's like 1 hit K or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that's really not primarily what you want to be doing. Personally, I think the biggest utility of this rolling attack, specifically for the Genza Undercover, is basically two situations, and indeed we are going to be finding the weapon at the very last page. But basically, say someone is super jumping, and I want to camp the spot as Genza Undercover Umbrella. If I do shoot him down, that's often a bit uncertain way to go about it. As you can see, like I only deal 40 damage at most, and that can easily turn to be 24 or whatever. Like that's not guaranteed for it. So instead, what I like to do against champs is just to throw the torpedo and get the 100. Of course, it's worth noting if they do have that one bomb defense, then yeah, it's not gonna work at the same way. But there's still like the most amount of pain or most amount of damage you can do. Second thing is that this is really a timing thing, and it's really tricky to get down, but it's still something you should keep in mind. Say someone's gonna be gonna be coming around the corner, then yeah, really good option is just to throw a torpedo and then go into like a attack like this, and you're gonna actually kill them insanely fast like this. Like sometimes I'm surprised how fast you can kill people like this. And yeah, it's not something that happens too often, but it's something to keep in mind. So yeah, primarily what we have established here is that primarily you want to be throwing the torpedoes there, because that's really everything that the sub weapon is about. But I think for the next points we're gonna go to recon some maps, just because I think I can better show this. Show the points in the real maps. So yeah, we're gonna be talking a bit about how exactly to be throwing them, since of course you can throw them in a variety of ways. While we see some good map where I can probably show this. Well, Mako is decent. Let's go Mako. So you wanna keep the throwing arc low. So what does that mean? Well, this is really high arc, right? And you are tempted to do a lot of high arcs, since that's kind of like when the torpedoes are most likely to catch someone and start like going towards them. But another thing to know about high arcs is that it's also very easy for the enemy to shoot them down, right? So say I wanna hit the back line standing on the right stack there. If I throw a really high arc, then yeah, it's normally it's pretty easy for the torpedo to catch the guy. But that's also pretty easy to shoot down. You can like think about it for yourself. Like if I'm standing here, there's like really high arc. It's really not that hard to shoot down. Like normally, maybe this is not the best spot to demo this since it's a kind of like weird spot overall. But you kind of like throw it as close to the kind of like the obstacle as possible. So say I know the sky behind there. I don't want to like throw a really high arc since the front will make it easier to shoot down. Instead, I want to throw like a pretty like small arc like this. So it makes it harder for them to shoot it down. It's more surprising, I think. That said, I think the absolute verse is like the middle arc, where it's either not high or not low. Either go like really high if you can afford it, then it's almost like gonna be on top of the enemy, or go really low. I think I'm most often like going really low with the torpedoes, since that makes it really harder for the enemy to shoot them down. So that's really the first point you gotta keep in mind when throwing them. And another important one is, say there's a backline there, I really hate this guy, like he's always sniping me. Then it might be tempting to go kind of like this, like take that. He's always shooting it down, I'm just doing this forever. Like, when you think about it, this is not really doing anything. Like, yeah, the backline or his mate has to shoot them down, but this is very predictable. The only way you're gonna catch people with torpedoes if it's surprising in two things: timing and the location. Well, it's not very surprising location if I just keep the same location, and the timing isn't really surprising either in this situation. So it's kind of funny when you see me have to shoot them down all the time, because it's not really the way to go. So maybe you want to throw one there, say in hold situation, want to throw one there. I want to throw a second one in the same spot, then maybe it's better to try it like this. So they have to kind of like keep guessing where the turbo is going to come from. And that's actually nice that I missed that, because okay, well, if you want to keep the arc low, then of course, you still need to be able to aim the torpedoes. But yeah, like kind of the second point here is that you have to be able to change up the location where you throw them and not choke like I did multiple times here. And changing completely where you're going to be throwing them. Because in hold situation, you're going to be throwing a lot of torpedoes anyway, so just don't get stuck on throwing at the same pace. Third thing is that you gotta be turn them where your front lines are engaged. So say you have a D-Tech that's gonna be rushing here, right? So that's really the best spot for you to do throwing torpedoes, is where he's engaging. Like say his enemy is like one in one front line there, then when he gets torpedoed, he can't really shoot them down. Like he just runs out of options. Compared to if I'm throwing them against someone who's completely unengaged, it's really easy for them to actually shoot it down, and it's not really putting much pressure on them at all. So always try to throw them where the front lines are going. That really makes it easier for your front lines to get some sick clips for Twitter. Yeah, like you see every time where your front line is going, just throw torpedoes there. That's really useful in general. I'd say fourth small tip is that again, this map doesn't really, maybe isn't the best to show this, but just experiment with spots. Like there's some surprising spots on many maps. That's pretty surprising for many people to get torpedoed over that, and that's really a bad example. There's really some insane spots you can find for torpedoes just to surprise people. And again, not showing the aim here, but you know, just to experiment with the spots. Like you get like torpedoes are best when people are surprised. Like like how can I even get torpedoed from the tank, stuff like that. So you gotta keep experimenting and not just doing the most obvious spots all the time. And a specific tip, like this, the last tip and the five tip, uh, specifically with Ken's undercover, like you always gotta be keeping the torpedoes in there. So I throw one, it gets shot down. I pretty much have to be able to like throw even if I'm doing auto reactions, like say I'm painting, like I still gotta be able to manage my ink and keep throwing those torpedoes. Like this is really what the weapon is all about. Like you can't be getting lazy with this, like you just gotta keep throwing them, right? So with Ken's Rabbit, that might be a bit different. The weapon is very different. I'm not gonna go into it right now, but specifically this weapon, you gotta keep throwing those torpedoes. Like, of course, that's not all the weapon is about, but every time it gets shot down, you have to get a new one in there. Like I'm not saying like go crazy with spamming only torpedoes. What I'm saying is that every time it makes sense to throw one, since that's really where the weapon, is gonna make a difference. If it's gonna make a difference. So just to go over them once again, and maybe I can show the spots a bit better on ancho-v. But well, of course, we talk about that you don't want to be rolling them too much. You want to be throwing them in the arc, and keep that arc low as it's harder to shoot down. change up the location where you throw them. If you're throwing them in the same location all the time, it's going to be really easy for the enemy to shoot them down. Throw them where your front lines are engaging, as well as experiment spots. This is actually a pretty nice spot. Like, people have to drop it down on the right side here. Like, if you can throw torpedoes there, that's actually pretty surprising and pretty nice spot. Say your front line is flanking at the same time, that can be pretty nice results, really. And yeah, last tip is just to keep as many torpedoes in the air as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much my short video on how to throw some torpedoes. I don't know. Remember, always have a smiley face when you throw torpedoes. It's very important. Keep up the good mood. And yeah, if you have some more tips to share, then do hit up those comments. And if not, then thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.